Your partner shutting down could be the best thing that ever happens to your relationship once you know how to work with it. So, first of all, notice what you typically do when your partner shuts down. Do you try to go in after them and grab them and get them back out again? Do you withdraw in turn and say, well, they've shut down, I'm going to go away too? Well, if you do either of those things, I suggest you don't. And do this other thing instead, which is lovingly name what you feel is happening and give them room to come back in their own time. We have a deep need to be seen, felt, loved where we are, and not judged for where we are. So by learning how to stay spacious in the face of your partner's shutdown, it'll do wonders for your relationship, and you'll be so much more connected than you've ever been before. So the first step in learning how to do this is to, instead of poking or pushing back, instead of withdrawing, to name what you're feeling in a non-judgmental and spacious way without pressure for them to talk about it too soon. What this looks like is, hey, I notice that you're kind of quiet. What's going on? Ask an open-ended question. Hey, I noticed something happened right then and it feels like you shut down. How you doing? Or, oh, I noticed that you got really quiet right there, or it feels like you shut down, and I want you to know that that's totally fine and you don't have to tell me about it right now, but I'd love to hear about it when you're ready. That kind of thing, where you are letting them know that you love and see them and feel them, and you also aren't pressuring them to come back out too soon. The second thing to do when your partner shuts down is to notice what kind of habitual reaction you have to that. Do you immediately assume you're doing something wrong? Do you go into blame, like, oh, they're so dumb, they don't know how to handle their emotions, or they never talk to me? Do you go into some story about your partner? Or do you go into a story about yourself? Do you take responsibility for their shutdown? That's not responsibility, that's actually codependence. And I suggest you stop that right now. So what your role is in that moment when you notice your own reaction is to give yourself the kind of loving, attentive space that you are learning to give your partner in that moment. So in the same way that you say to them, hey, I noticed something shifted there, are you okay? Or I noticed something happened and you don't have to tell me about it right now, but I'd love to hear about it when you're ready. In that same way, be kind to yourself. Don't make yourself wrong if you go into, I'm bad, I'm wrong, my partner's dumb, it always happens like this, why can't I have a great relationship? Whatever train of thinking that your mind goes down, be gentle with it. Be kind with yourself. Be spacious with yourself. And then build a gap from that initial response, that initial reaction, actually, that's a nervous system-based reaction that was encoded way before now in your childhood. So that's just kind of gonna be the reaction you're gonna tend to have. I'm wrong, I'm bad, they're wrong, they're bad, whatever your typical reaction tends to be. Have compassion for that, and then notice it and pause and choose a new response. Choose to journal for yourself. When you're giving your partner space, choose to journal for yourself about what you're feeling. Choose to soothe yourself. No, I didn't do anything wrong there. They have their own reaction because that's how they're wired. It's not even really about me. And I might have said something that triggered it, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong or bad because I did that. Do you blame the person who steps on a landmine for stepping on the landmine? It's a landmine. You didn't see it and you stepped on it. That doesn't make you bad or wrong. And your partner's not wrong for having emotional landmines in there either. They're who they are, and you can work together to begin to build more room to choose new responses. So here's an example. My partner and I, when we moved to New York a couple of years ago, had an experience where he began to feel numb and sad because there were aspects of living in the city that were hard for him, and he missed aspects of our life in California. And so I used to kind of leave him alone there, but eventually I learned how to have this kind of spacious noticing that I'm advocating for here and saying, hey, something feels off, or you feel super distant, what's happening? I got curious. And gradually over time, as he realized he wasn't going to get criticized for shutting down, for going numb, for being flat, as he realized he wasn't going to get criticized for that, he got much more able to stay with what he was feeling and communicate about it in real time. Be able to name, hey, I'm shutting down, or, oh, I feel numb right now, or, oh, I feel foggy and unclear and I'm not sure what's happening. His capacity to name that got better as my capacity to be with it got better, and vice versa. So we have developed over the last couple of years much more ability to be with each other wherever we are and actually be playful there, even have some shorthands around letting each other know where we are. For example, like I spoke about in a recent video, if I'm cranky or he's cranky, we'll often let each other know in advance, like, hey, I've got the cranks. And that's a lighthearted way of saying, tread lightly, because if you get too close, I might bite your head off. But instead we say, hey, I've got the cranks, and then we laugh a little bit, and it usually begins to shift it. So something you could work on in your relationship around shutting down, whether you're the person who shuts down or your partner is the one who shuts down, or both, at various times, you could develop a shorthand around that. In a place when you're feeling good, you talk about, hey, let's figure out how we want to handle it when one of us shuts down. And you could create a shorthand around that, like, oh, I'm going in the bunker, something funny that lets your partner know that you are having a certain experience. Oh, I'm in the fog and I don't have any fog lights on the car, whatever it is. So come up with some shorthands with each other so you can let each other know where you're at and stay current. And in this way, you start to develop, again, more playfulness, more ability to be with each other in present time with less reactivity to the experience you're having. So in any given interaction with your partner, there's the experience you're having, and then there's the narrative you're making about the experience you're having, right? And so as best as possible, our relationships are improved the less narrative we have and the more ability we have to stay in present time with each other. So what I'm advocating for today, this ability to name something you notice in your partner with love and spaciousness and tenderness, this goes a long way toward reducing the narrative, the background narrative we tend to create about what's happening with our partner, and it helps you stay in present time with them, which means that you can move through these differing states so much more quickly because you don't have to spend extra time defending against whatever narrative it is that's being made. I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and I'm a relationship alchemist who helps people take the habitual patterns and challenges and mundane aspects of life to craft them into something beautiful, to craft them into the love and connection that they deeply want in relationship. I hope this has been useful to you today. Stick around, watch more videos, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.